High vibrations, sweet babies. Okay, I am really feeling into some, I want to say very divine feminine energy, but not necessarily divine feminine. This could also be dark feminine. This could also be just very like karmic feminine. Very much like asking you to look at I'm pausing because I feel like there's a lot of really powerful healing being done for the collective listening currently. And I just feel as though there's some pieces to this reading that I want to approach with like tender care. I just want to be thoughtful. It's just the energy of this reading, like patience. That's the card that just came out. I'm not asking you for patience. Okay, wow, caution just came out from the second deck right on top of caution. Okay. I had some really interesting synchronistic inexplicable type of things happen when I was shuffling this original reading before I pressed record, and then as I pressed record, I'm now shuffling my second deck for some clarifiers, and I don't know if you can hear those crows. I'm sure you can. Crows might be symbolic for you right now when you're in maybe a little bit more of a void space. A space of a space of stillness, of listening more than you speak, a space of receptivity, a space of like just being very present in the moment. And what I heard in the church service that I was listening to yesterday was look for where you see God in the present moment, like to be really present. And for me, I've been feeling into that a lot more recently, of like this way in which I interact with my life around me. I feel like I'm very much always looking for my connection to my higher power in every moment. Like I'm very much in belief that my angels, my ancestors, guides, the divine are ever present, right? And of course, I want to be very much in tune with the people that are around me and the things that I'm experiencing, and I'm feeling like, the simple joys, the simple pleasures in life. However, there is something really healing and powerful about being able to have that connection to the divine in the present moment. Where is God showing itself to you? And I say itself because I feel like God can mean several things to several people. So where's the divine showing itself to you? I'm like shuffling. Hello. Interesting. So I feel like right now there's a lot of just energy of curiosity, of wonder, of wanting to know what is going to show up for you next right now. And if you identify as someone who's in their feminine energy, or if you're just looking to maybe heal feminine energy in your life or understand the feminine energies of your life, right now there's a lot of healing going on. There's a lot of healing going on, and this feels very emotional, heart space healing is what we've been going through for a while now, collective. And this has been kind of requiring a little bit of a slowing down, a stillness, a pause during that total lunar eclipse that we had. And that was around the 13th. And then things started picking up again. I think, like, as a collective, we were feeling into the momentum starting to pick up as we, I think, surrendered to the shifts and the things that we were feeling and the things going on in, the world around us, like globally, personally, within our communities. There was a lot of like things that were shaken up. People were just going through a lot of different, very, if it wasn't like tragic, which I'm hoping it wasn't, it was just like things that created like a very deep ripple effect is kind of the energy I'm getting. And this feels very much like dark waters. It's rainy today. I'm always feeling into like the energy of like the weather, but like how can you not? When it's rainy, it's like, let me get cozy, let me slow down a little bit. But truly, I think Venus, as she leaves retrograde and goes direct, she's connecting with our feminine energy in a very deep and powerful way in conjunction with a couple of other transits that are going on right now. And she's highlighting something very beautiful and very specific. And it's been coming up for me time and time again. And I feel like I was resisting talking about it because there's like a stigma around the idea of it. But we're going to get into it. But, yeah, there's just this element of heart healing that's going on right now for us collective. And it feels very much as though you're wanting to just move a little bit slower. You're wanting to just like pump the brakes, or like you felt like you were pedal to the metal, go, go, go. Maybe you just felt like things are moving faster outside of your own control. And I feel like through that slowing down, through that like shift in timeline sort of energy we were feeling through this eclipse season, you're finding a pace for yourself that feels really authentic, that feels really sensual. And what I mean by that is like you are tapped in, tuned in, turned on with all your five senses in the present moment. You are someone who is like very here and very in the moment, and probably carries like a lot of energy to you because you've been learning to heal your nervous system. You've been learning how to stay aligned with yourself despite adversities and whatever might have been thrown at you, because I do see resilience is here in the cards. And we're going to speak to more of that. yeah, challenges. There was just challenges thrown your way. The first card that came out in this reading is never give up. Motivation. What do you need to do to find motivation in your life? Because I hate to tell you this, but as a life coach, it's kind of my job to motivate people. So I really was interested in motivation. And when I was being trained for being a CPC, what I learned about motivation is that it's pretty much bullshit. It it works with your conscious mind, and because of this, it comes in short bursts, right? So your mind that is taking in like information, short-term memory, making decisions, and willpower, things like that come in very shorter periods of time, short bursts. They require more energy, actually. And when we work with the subconscious mind, that is actually when we have a lot more, I don't want to say control, but we connect with our experiences in a little bit more deep and powerful ways, because the subconscious mind is responsible for like somewhere over 90% of our real decision making, our real beliefs and blocks and ideas about things, which is why it's really difficult to create long sustaining change when we're working with sheer motivation or willpower alone. It feels intense, and it feels like you could have the whole force of the universe behind your back when you feel those bursts of motivation, which is why it's important to seek those out. But it's also really helpful to have this understanding of the fact that it's kind of exhausting to always be trying to stay motivated, when in reality, resting and working with your subconscious, reframing belief systems around things, pausing, healing your nervous system so that you can actually just stay in more of a flow state. Because when we find ourselves in this state, we can connect with more things that feel aligned and feel good to us. We are able to find inspiration and pull motivation from those things while still being regulated, while still being able to connect to like homeostasis instead of constantly being working, using up all your, I'm feeling like firing from, is that a phrase? Firing out of both engines? I don't know. That's but that's kind of what I feel like. Is like you're just go, and then you might find yourself in a place of burnout, and this is known as hustle mode. And yeah, the cards are just indicating, even though momentum's picking up, things might be happening for you. Definitely give yourself permission to just tap into that new pace that feels really good for you. This might be a reading for the feminine energy, but I want to speak to the fact that having healthy masculine energy right now is going to really help the feminine energy find healing and flourish, which is going to look like things like discipline, routine, and structure. Organization. Like these things are really going to help those emotions and just feeling something stable and structural within your own system has the potential to really do deep healing, especially if you're someone who has a background of just kind of feeling unstable or feeling like you didn't really have a solid foundation. And so when you are able to really heal this for yourself and show up with the masculine gifts of structure, discipline, etc., this helps the feminine sides of ourselves, the feminine energy within ourselves, which is, like I said, emotions. It's also tapping into your intuitive gifts and feeling very clear and grounded about what you're feeling into spiritually. So good things come to those who wait. Give it time, everything in divine timing. Let things flow. Never give up. Just a few more months. Find out more information. Don't overwork yourself, right? I was just speaking to burnout, right? So instead of constantly trying to just maybe seek things out or find things that motivate you, or feeling maybe low when you're not extremely motivated, understand that this is a very fluid, cyclical process as well, right? So we can't avoid certain cycles in our life and then use other cycles to our advantage. Like, that doesn't work. So we've been feeling into what happens when we release the fear around seeing things again, seeing things that we've already dealt with, seeing things that we thought we healed or worked through, having to tie up loose ends. That's kind of been an underlying energy over the eclipse season. And we are starting to understand that it is a dance. It is a fluid, cyclical way of life. And instead of feeling spiraling, we can start to move with this, understanding the momentum, the need for creation, and the need for rest, right? The need to or create or reflect, right? Play and rest. And yeah, I just think that there's a lot of balancing that's going to happen for you with this. And it's really, there's a lot of potential here for things to like the self-love. It's the self-love, the personal intimacy, connecting to yourself, like having that real sort of flow. And it the way that you can look at it from the feminine lens instead of the masculine lens of like routine and structure and discipline, you can look at it with a more feminine energy lens, which is like ritual. Like, not only are you doing these tasks, but you're also feeling into yourself in those moments while you're doing them. And you're doing them with this mindful awareness of how it's supposed to be healing you. Like, I don't know, for instance, like your breakfast in the morning or your lunch, something along those lines. Like, you can whisper a prayer over it. You can thank the nutrients in the food for healing your body. You can thank the divine for the life on your plate, and then you can think about how those different nutrients are healing you and taking care of you and making you stronger and making you more capable. Because right now, I think just the ability to really nurture and find a lot of personal intimacy and care for yourself is really going to make you feel a lot more capable. That self-care right now is like so vital to helping you feel balanced. There is an energy here of something So it is important right now to put some distance between yourself and a situation, or a person, or whatever it is that you need to, just so you can really nurture and protect your energy. It feels like there is, or there already is, some distance in that situation. And it's right now, just, it needs to be so focused on like healing. There's this feeling of like something third party like that is just really very negative about this situation, or speaking something negative over this situation, maybe trying to sabotage the situation. This can be something involving a commitment that was made. This could be something involving, I'm seeing like a receipt or something involving finances. And this is also something that's probably having to do with the home or home life, somebody who's in your home. And this situation, yeah, somebody who's, it's right here, finances, trouble with finances, problems with addiction or gambling or bad finances. And it just seems as though there's someone, let me get a little bit more clarity on this. Because right now, divine feminine energy, people wanting to heal or understand divine feminine energy and how it's showing up for you in your life, because it shows up for all of us. You're trying to manifest something. You're trying to manifest something, something that is long-lasting, something that stands the test of time, kept wanting to, like, was something I kept hearing this morning. I also been having a lot of music in my head when I wake up. I wish I could remember now what songs they were, because they're there in the mornings, and I'm like humming them, and then I get going with my day. Yeah, you're trying to manifest something, something that's resilient. 8s are showing up, so something that's never ending, something that's going to last a long time, something that for some reason I'm like, it's successful, but success is really, it matters. Success is determined by everyone individually. And that might be what you need to hear right now, is that your version of success really only has to match your version of success. Nobody else's. What people think is successful for you or to you, or what you need to do to be successful, might be some cool advice to listen to, but, and we talked about this in a previous reading, your dreams were given to you for a reason. Nobody else. They don't have to understand sometimes. This feels like something matters of the heart, related to the heart. And it also seems like, yeah, you're really trying to plant seeds for like a lot of love in your life. And again, in infinity sign, but like a lot of intimacy. It seems like there's some healing around sexual energy definitely showing up as well. I want to say that this is actually a good place to shift into what Venus was sort of alluding to, right, as we go into this solar eclipse. For a lot of us, part of what we're feeling into as we move towards the solar eclipse, which is on March 29th. Can you believe how close that is? I feel like I blinked and March is nearly over. Truly. With all of the energy shifting and like timelines that we were kind of like veering off into, and then the divine was like, you thought like, you really thought like you need to really and truly be that person before you're going to go off and jump into another timeline swap with somebody, what have you. Like, no, this is you. This is your life. This is your rhythms of your life. Learn to dance with it. You wanted certain things. You didn't know how you were going to get them, but I brought them to you, and here's what's required of you to be able to truly embrace them in your life. That's like basically the breakdown of what eclipse season was for us. And it really seems as though Venus involved in this eclipse season was really asking us to think about how the fuck we relate to things. How are we relating to our life? Because truly, there might have been a specific conversation. You might have heard powerful words. You might have received information, especially with Mercury retrograde currently happening, that really made you fucking Uno reverse the way you felt about a situation, or made you feel like it just changed the way you were thinking just drastically. And with this new information, with these new things that you have heard, that you have received, that you felt, you were moved and you felt compelled by, it's really asking you to look at your intimacy, your connections, your connection to life, your connection to purpose in life. And sometimes that feels very like, that's like a very big topic. And it's it's good to really just yes, guardian angels just came out. A lost loved one watching over you. Right under family tree. So these are big questions that you might be having, and there might be a little bit of resistance or like wanting to pump the brakes on those things. But definitely throughout this eclipse season, those things were definitely brought to light and have the gears kind of turning for you. And I'm sort of feeling like now we're entering this sort of return, right? Because there's a lot of energy of going back or looking back or bringing back to light or bringing back, this sort of energy with the retrogrades going on during this eclipse season. This eclipse is like, because eclipses really help you shed and step into. That's what you can expect from, most eclipses. And with the Mercury retrogrades happening during this time, there's just a lot of like energy of revisiting and looking back to really be able to do that in a powerful way. And with this, it's asking us to look back to the time during the Black Moon, which was New Year's Eve, January 1st timeframe. And so Black Moon is one of the multiple moons that are looked upon in astrology. And for those of you who aren't super into all of the astrology stuff, that's totally fine. I'm going to keep it very simple. But there's a lot more than just the planets that you can look at in the astrological chart. There's multiple moons, and there's also asteroids. There's nodes. Again, we're not going to go too far into all that. I want to keep it really simple breakdown. We have a black moon, which is also called Lilith in tropical astrology. And with this moon, we can also look at the archetype of Lilith if you want to look at it from that lens. But what the black moon really just represents is more so the shadow side to your wants, your desires, your urges, and sexual expression. When it's represented by Mars and Venus in the planets, it's a very, I would say, forward expression. But what the black moon is representing is the more underlying motive and the real underlying energy to what you're outwardly expressing. So it's worth looking into right now during this time, because I feel as though it's really this empowering way to understand a little bit more of this intimate side to yourself. It speaks to our ways that we really decide upon our communities. Not just how we connect to the communities around us or the people around us, but it also speaks to how we seek them out, what we're looking for, what those true desires are around. So for your black moon, this might be something that Venus wants you to kind of bring awareness to, or Mercury even retrograde wants you to look back on, because it feels as though during the time of January, when we had this new moon, it was a black moon, it was a really powerful time for us to be like, I want these things. I know that it requires a different version of me. I'm making this commitment to step into that version of me. I feel really aligned with all of these things. There was definitely like this kind of big catalyst shifting energy back in that time too, because we had gone through an eclipse season in October. And with that, it brought us a lot of like big visions, with a lot of Pisces energy playing a role in the moon back at that time, saying like, this is what's possible for yourself. This is the version of yourself you could be. You can have all these things if you want them. Remember your ability and your power to create these things for yourself. Sometimes you need to just tell the universe exactly what you want, speak it into existence. Sometimes you only need to speak to the universe about this and not other people, because other people might not understand your wants and your wishes and your desires, and they might cast judgments or shames or their projections onto those things. And this black moon back in January was telling you to fucking go for it and commit to that. And you felt it, and you felt that resilience, and you felt that strength. And you also knew that this was going to require you to have boundaries around certain things regarding I'm going to be real with you, a lot of like sexuality, a lot of connecting romantically. I also see there might have been someone's pregnancy that was like really inspiring to you, like really spoke to, that one day like you want to conceive something really big and beautiful in your own life. And there's just a lot of things regarding intimacy that I feel that you were committing to during that black moon. And now Venus is here to round the whole thing out and express to you, like, there are going to be challenges. There's going to things that make you feel as though you're at a distance from what it is that you're truly seeking. I also feel as though there's somebody within the family system that has you feeling like, no, it's not the right time. Or just saying straight out, no. There's someone around you who is just making you feel like, no. And even if they aren't saying it to you, it's like when you think about something and then you have that egoic voice in the back of your head and it's like, oh, you don't want to do that. No. Whose voice is that? For some of us, it might not be our own. It's probably someone who's cast a lot of doubt, a lot of judgment upon things in our lives, and to protect our psyche, we made the voice in our head sound like them. And now we know that when we hear that voice, we're not going to do those things because that person was very persuasive, very probably invasive, probably overbearing. So now, you know, this is sort of the relationship that you might have with your psyche, or there's just somebody involved in your situation who is just making you feel like, no, like you can't do something. Just, it's not the right time is showing up here. But I want you to know that your guardian angels, your lost loved ones watching over you, are making an indication that there's some communication to be had, some energy that is shared. And it feels like it puts like a little like, I don't know if like heart skips a beat is the best way to say it, but it like makes your like maybe your heart race, or like they just excite you in some way. And again, there is this energy of return, of cycling back. They'll be back. Expect to hear from them soon. Electronically, communication issues might have shown up, but there is definitely going to be energy and conversations coming through. This is something you want to open your heart up to and just stay open to this situation. Come from a very loving place with this situation. For some reason, there's this feeling of like needing to give things time because you're not really sure what to expect from this experience, or this person, or whatever you've got going on and you're involved with. Yeah, there's like so many different possibilities. You know this. There's so many different possibilities. So many different chances that you can take. And I'm gonna pull just a couple more clarifiers here. I feel as though once Mercury retrograde is over, there's going to be a little bit more clarity around the energy of the situation. Yeah, there's definitely a conversation or something needing to be said still. Let things be easy and trust. Okay. protecting your energy around the situation, or maybe being very mindful about who you tell your situation to, because like I was saying before, waxing moon came out. Father wounds, 37, surprise. There's just like a lot of feelings of like possible outcomes, possible actions. New moon. What's this? Birthday. Oh, that's funny. That came out under 12/12. Or near 12/12, I guess. Something about the birthday, is causing you to, holy shit, choke? Oh my gosh, like, goodness gracious, I don't even know where that came from. Let it out. Throat. Okay, so something about the birthday is asking you to let it go. Let it out. Whatever you need to say about this situation, or whatever, let it out, and then also kind of like let it go. I'm also seeing trust, let things be easy. There's going to be clarity around the waxing moon. There's a possibility here of someone just being too full of themselves, someone who is just very money focused, and fire sign. Take it one day at a time, because right now there's a lot of possibilities out there of like, during the solar eclipse. Okay. Father wounds. Doors will open. Karmic masculine. Yup. Okay. It sometimes feels like for the divine feminine, or the feminine energy in our lives right now, it seems as though there's something regarding the karmic masculine, or maybe father wounds, that are making you think like all of these possibilities. You're like, oh my God, the world is so big. And it can almost feel like what I'm seeing is like a globe, like a world globe. And it's just like spinning and like over and over and over again. And it's like all these different possible outcomes, all these possible actions. And it's like either that you or that someone else could take. But there's a need for you to recognize that this is kind of like a distorted way of thinking, because you can only really take things one day at a time. I do see that the seeds were planted for actions to be taken. That's not the deck. The seeds were planted for something to be abundant, fruitful, prosperous, also really fun. I see partnership. I see collaboration. air sign and fire sign came out together. And it was right next to action. So right now, the actions that you're taking, it just feels like you need to be very much one day at a time, feeling into the choices and actions that you're taking, and understand that some of the actions that you've already made throughout this eclipse season are planting seeds for the reality that you're stepping into. As we enter into this new seasonal new year, it feels as though like you've kind of intentionally or maybe unintentionally planted seeds that are going to bloom into kind of what the rest of your year looks like. Understand that as you take things one day at a time, let things be easy. Doors will open for you. There might be more things that are going to be said that really bring up an awareness for you of kind of the ways that you've let your energy kind of be overly expressed or overly accessed, not expressed, accessed, right? And I think right now you're looking for new ways to tap into and express this very powerful creator energy. And and I just feel as though putting all of that kind of energy into that right now is really going to, yes, give it time, lead you to the kinds of possibilities and outcomes that you're wanting. Don't be a gold digger. Don't be too full of yourself. Don't go down the route of just moving on to a situation that you know is not good for yourself. Especially if you yourself may be emotionally unavailable or distant, because right now you're heart healing. And it would honestly be I'm just going to be real with you from what angels, ancestors, and guides are trying to say. It would be very selfish of you to be involved in anything outside of your own healing, outside of your own betterment. And it would be a very distorted loss of truth, very sneaky, not coming from your truth sort of experience. And those are not actions that you want to be taking right now, because it's really going to, the way that like I'm seeing it in my mind's eye is like, you've planted these seeds and now you have to nourish yourself and nourish your soil, nourish your foundation, right? We were talking about these structures and routines, rituals, if you will, to help you feel nourished, to help you feel stable enough to really grow something fruitful. And like I was saying before, you're trying to manifest something fruitful, like truly abundant, truly long-lasting, stands the test of time. And these choices that you're going to make are going to really, really going to determine what seeds are actually able to be brought to life and be, I'm blanking on the words. Sprout, like sprouting to life, like budding, like these, whatever choices you make are going to either fertilize or like damage the sort of nurturing, rich, like fruitful, abundant, cared for soil and foundation for what you're trying to grow in your life. And it might seem like sometimes like a lot of work to be working on dirt or to be working from like the ground up, it feels like, or I don't know, it just feels like you're doing some grunt work at the moment. The healing process is not all glitz and glamour. Like Actually, I was thinking about this earlier. There's sort of 12:12 on the clock right now. Okay, hello. My phone just lit up and I saw that. That was beautiful. Yeah, just like a lot of people say they want, I want to connect with feminine energy, or I want a divine feminine woman in my life, like that sort of thing. But it's like, be aware that the feminine is beautiful and healing and very like in tune and nurturing and like present and like soaking you up. But at the same time, she is also going to be a reflection, and she's also going to be a portal, and she's also going to bring like new life to your reality. And if you have things that you've been running from, or if you've been trying to heal something and you're struggling with it, like that is what happens when you connect to the feminine energy of your life. Like that is all going to be healed. A lot of people talk about like twin flames and like the divine union. And, to me, it's like divine union, but also like holy matrimony. Like when someone truly connects with you in your life and they are coming from a place of like true, just, I have all of this loving, healing energy to share with you, that is going to ask us to confront some of our deepest wounds. And this can be for ourselves internally, bringing that union into ourselves of knowing that we're safe, full, loved, whole. What in the world is that? Anyways, knowing that we're safe, we're full, we're whole, we're loved, all on our own selves. And then we get to really share that fullness with our divine counterpart. But sometimes, they're going to illuminate the parts of ourselves that don't feel full because they themselves are working on creating that divine union and holy matrimony within themselves. And in order to be at a vibrational match, to really be connected at that soul level, you have to walk in unison on a healing journey together as individuals and as a conjoined force. And to me, I always really admire and appreciate and respect anybody who's been able to do that, no matter what that looks like. And I just kind of feel as though you've been asked to really look at your desires, your urges, your black moon sort of energy, and where that's wanting to be expressed and where that's wanting that self-love and to come through in healthy ways, because this might really go back to father wounds. This may bring up a lot of fears around what possible outcomes might happen. Somebody feeling used, somebody going back to like some this card here, the gold digger energy, being too full of themselves, feeling like the situation is a waste of time. But truthfully, what I'm seeing here is not that. There's probably somebody who's putting a lot of that into your energy or into your mind or into your field right now, which is why it's important to protect your energy. Do a lot of this healing work on your own, individually. Like this is healing for you, and what you want to manifest for yourself and call into your life, the types of connections, the type of intimacy. Nobody gets to decide what that looks like for you. And that's why I think looking into the black moon is going to be really helpful for you in this time to understanding what that is for you and what you really want in that space. And Venus can then help you strengthen your relationships from here on out with this sort of deep understanding of like the real underlying nature of your wants, your wishes, your urges, and your connections. And lastly, there was something that I was going to say. Oh, yeah. I ordered a book yesterday, and it should be here today at some point. So I'm really excited about that. But it's actually speaking to the whole topic of filling yourself up and looking at the way that Jesus lived his life with self-care through a psychological lens, which I'm really interested to see how it's written and the whole ideology behind it. But I just think it's really interesting to think of like how a spiritual being could, use self-care to really take on that enlightenment path and to be in such an ascended place. And the book really speaks to like having this like feeling of you've poured a lot out of you, or maybe it's not even that you poured, maybe life has required like all of you, people in your life around you needing a lot from you, just feeling of being empty and feeling like you've poured and you've given. The book also is for people who work in like healthcare fields or hospitality or anything that just requires you to be on and giving a lot of your best energy. How you then are able to pour back into yourself and feel truly full, so like your cup could runneth over type of energy. And that's the place where the divine feminine energy is able to really give, right? Because the feminine is reception, right? And the masculine is insertion. So, penetration, it's putting into, and the feminine is receiving and taking in. And that doesn't mean that the feminine doesn't give, though. The feminine gives by receiving so much that she can then pour out of her what is just beautiful, just beautiful gifts, truly. Beautiful gifts that she's given by her life, by being willing to be open, to be willing to receive things for what they are. And that might be highs and lows, that might be dark and light, like the willingness to be in that place of surrender and receptivity and discerning, where those things come from and what spaces they come from, in order for then her to give, just so much loving energy out from within herself, is really how the feminine energy gives, right? So I like this ideology in this book that I got, and I'll put a little link below if it's something that you want to check out, of just thinking about how to keep yourself full and how to really make sure that you're pouring into your self-care. And something that the author had spoke on was saying, like, there was a lot of times when Jesus had very clear boundaries around his self-care and his relationship to God. And there would be a lot of times when the disciples were like, "Where's Jesus?" And Jesus would just be like off meditating. And like, that's exactly the sort of like ritualistic practices that are going to help you feel really connected and enlightened. And what she was also saying was like, if Jesus was making boundaries around self-care and those practices, imagine how many boundaries that we should be as like human beings here, having a very physical and spiritual experience as well, So I think this reading really just kind of speaks to the necessity to think about how to really provide that sort of loving self-care, nourishment to self, in understanding how we want to feel intimate, how we want to feel connected, how we want to feel really loved by ourselves first and foremost, and how that starts to then shift and change things. And like I said, there might be some people in your direct physical world and experience, maybe within the same like home life, housing, physical location as you, who might be polarized by your ability to stay aligned with what feels like your prayers, like your manifestations, what you were called to, the resilience, the love, the connection and intimacy that you are devoted to receiving and experiencing in your life. This might really shake people who don't know how to receive that or don't know how to give that. And this might really, I just feel like it has to do with someone like talking about family, talking about your family, talking down on you and what you want for yourself, trying to convince themselves that you're not worthy of having those things, or that they are more worthy of having those things, or just flat out just not accepting what you, what energy you're stepping into right now. And that's just truly okay. 1010 is here. I'm wrapping this up for you. I'm sending you so much loving energy, and I'm really excited for this solar eclipse. So I thank you for listening along to my long-winded readings, and I really hope that I'm going to keep them shorter from now on. I'm not going to go on like this in the future, just so y'all know, but like, I'm really thankful that you listen. This is truly healing for me, first and foremost, as I've always said, but just to know that a lot of people are feeling resonant with the things that I'm reading, it just means a lot to me. So anyways, I'm sending you all my love, and I'll talk to you soon.